we're one beheading away from this country going into all-out sectarian civil war. What I think will happen is a little girl will get kidnapped off the street, and the Islamists will put the ISIS banner behind her. They'll get the balaclavas on. She'll be screaming for her mummy. And on Facebook Live or something, they're going to behead a little Christian child on video, blood spilling everywhere as she screams for her mummy. And they're going to, without any self-awareness, they're going to say, "You f***ing British, innit? This is how they're suffering in Gaza."
Hi guys, doing this is Sahar TV, and in today's video we'll see Charlie Veitch. He went on a podcast and he said that he no longer gives a shit what people think about his will to make the UK safe again. Let's take a look.
There's a great saying that at some point we're going to have to save Great Britain. Either us, our children, or our grandchildren. And it's better that it's us rather than making our children or our grandchildren go for it. So after 9/11, before I became a conspiracy theorist, I was a mainstream nice boy in Edinburgh. So I was 21 when I watched the towers come down, watched it live in a cafe in Thailand. We were in Koh Samui, and a little Thai guy comes onto the beach. Come, your country, attack, attack, attack. We're like, what? There's a bunch of Israeli tourists. Israelis love Thailand. And went to see it. So 9/11 really affected me. I was the same age as you. And I was like, what can I do? I know, I'll join the armed forces. But I didn't want to be a full-time soldier. I still wanted to earn money and work. So I joined the TA, and I was in Royal Logistics Corps doing officer training in Edinburgh for 2 years. But I quit just before Sandhurst for the officer training. The TA, you still do the same stuff as the regular army, because I became a conspiracy theorist. And I was like, oh my God, I'm going to fight for the very people that did this attack. I know now it's wrong, but you know.
Well, it's good that you found courage instead of fear when you saw that atrocity take place, because, I mean, it put the fear of God into most people. It shows testicular fortitude that you thought, you know what, I'm gonna resist this. So, yeah, again, I tip my hat to you.
Yeah, and funnily enough, bringing back memories now, I remember 2005, I was at can't remember the name of the army base, but funnily enough, there was a young guy, Muslim, who was doing the officer training with us. But when it came, and everyone remembers this, all the other English and Scottish guys there, when it came to the gun range where you get the SA-80, you learn the magazine, disassembling it. But when it came to do the shooting, there was a couple of the weapons NCOs were watching us, but for the Muslim guy, there was 3 guys stood over him at any moment, and we all noticed that. And I think just after 9/11, everyone was worried, as we are now, because it's happened so many times, that he was just going to get a 30-round magazine and just bang, 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 just start doing a Mumbai-style massacre, start killing people. And we all had that in the back of our minds. Of course, it never transpired, it never happened, but it's a massive topic. How can you be loyal to Great Britain, to the king, to Britishness, if you're also loyal to a 1400-year-old cult of Mohammedanism?
Did it used to
Islam?
By the way guys, in Islam there's no actual separation between mosque and state. Islam is above everything. It's above international law, above politics. Allah is the one that dictates. That's why they don't believe in the concept of states. They believe in concepts of khalifas, a big Islamic khalifa that will conquer the entire world. They don't care about politics. Islam is above everything.
Did it used to be called that?
Yeah, Mohammedans. Up until I'd say the 70s, British people would call Islam Mohammedanism. And I think it's very accurate because it's a personality cult. The reason why Muslims all call their kids Muhammad, they all have the same beard without the upper lip, and they try and copy him, is because they're in a very long-term personality cult. Whereas, and the problem is that with Christianity, Jesus is God, so you'll never be God. So you'll never be Jesus, but Muslims believe that they can be exactly like Muhammad because he was a human being. And that causes all sorts of problems. When the fundamentals of your religion aren't based in the spirit world, they're based in a war general who did go a bit mad and massacre villages full of Jews, left, right, and center. And there is a story, I've not been able to verify it, but it's not outside the realm of possibility, that I think it's in one of the hadiths, that Muhammad went to conquer the last Jewish tribe of warriors that were like, no, fuck you, we like Moses and you're not the prophet. So he went and executed all the men in the village. And then after he executed the chief, he made the daughter watch the execution. And then he took her into the tent and had his carnal ways with her as a thrill. And now that's, but again, I can't verify that. So this is just Charlie doing anti-Islamism propaganda on the Liam Tuff show.
You've said in the middle of the street that we must confront the Islamists. You've put that on record. It's a brave thing to say, particularly in this day and age.
Yeah.
Why must we confront the Islamists?
Because
and how?
They are in a very well-organized, very well-oiled machine. It's a worldly 3D physical realm domination cult that is different to, say, Buddhism or Christianity, which is based in heaven, in the other world, in things that are not physical. But we need to confront the Islamists. And first of all, I want to just clarify what I mean by Islamist rather than Muslim or Islam. So I see Islam is an ideology. I would say it's almost a religion. And I'm sorry if I've offended anyone. If the government's watching this and I've committed hate crimes, come for me. We're at the point now, I think, if I get arrested for criticizing the most dominant invading force that Europe has seen since the gates of Vienna or since the Reconquista of Spain, then, I don't care. Like, can you really get in trouble for trying to save your own country by speaking the truth? So Islam is a almost religion. It's a kind of domination cult. Muslims are people who are indoctrinated into that cult. But there's many Muslims who they're like kind of people that maybe go to church once a year, Christmas service. But they're like, I believe in Islam and Muhammad, but whatever. I'm just going to go and make money and be a good person. Those are Muslims. They're not a problem. But Islamists are people who see Islam as the perfect final political solution for the planet. Obviously, Muslims believe that the Quran is the final revelation of God. Nothing else can come after it. They're so arrogant to the point that they call people who convert to Islam in the West, they call them reverts. They're like, Dave, Paul, Matthew, John, we'll keep it biblical. John, you guys were born Muslims, but you were brainwashed into being Christians, but now you're reverting back to Islam.
That is the funniest thing that Muslims do. They trying to cancel Judaism and cancel Christianity by saying, we were here first, Adam was a Muslim, Moses was a Muslim, all of them were Muslims. How come? Islam came to existence thousands and thousands and thousands of years later, so why do you keep claiming the same thing? They do it with the Palestinians as well. They claim that the Palestinians were the Canaanites and that they were here before the Jews to overpower the presence of the Jewish people here in the land. It's disgusting, but it works for them.
That's very arrogant. And on the flip side, if you want to leave Islam, the penalty is death. Now, obviously, you don't see that practiced very often. Obviously, in villages in Pakistan, they stone each other to death over it. But, I think Salman Rushdie, he was an Indian Muslim, but he came from a posh family, realized this is problematic, this book. He wrote the Satanic Verses, which I read. It's not as bad against Islam as the Muslims. You got that fatwa against them, the Ayatollah in Iran, you have to kill him. So he didn't insult it that badly. But anyway, to come back to the Islamists, we need to challenge them because they are empowered. They've got momentum behind them. They think that they're winning after 20 years of anti-Western, anti-straight white man propaganda by every angle. For a long time, we thought that the anti-straight white man propaganda was to make other minorities feel better, and it's not all domination. But you're like, wait a minute, this was all just a big ploy to make white people hate themselves and to have less children. And the Islamists are, on top of that, promoting Islam very, very heavily. And I said to you just outside in the waiting room before here, I think Muslims are on the back foot a bit right now because after Southport, I know Southport wasn't committed by a Muslim, so they say, but I do think that Axel Rudu Cabana was inspired by terrorism and Islamism, I think, before he did that, because the modus operandi, going to innocent small Christian people and doing a mass stabbing attack, if you ask anyone on the street, what would you associate a car ramming attack with, or a mass stabbing attack with? What religion? They're like, oh, Islam, clearly. So he might not have been a Muslim, but I would say it was very much inspired by it. But they're on the back foot now, Muslims, because since Southport, no one is scared of being called racist anymore. No one is scared of being called Islamophobic anymore, because we're now at the brink. We are at the precipice. We have maybe we've passed the precipice, Liam. Maybe it's too late to save this country politically. And now we realize that we're one spark away. Unfortunately, the Islamists can't help themselves. We're one beheading away from this country going into all-out sectarian civil war. And what I think will happen is some young British soldier like Lee Rigby, or even worse, a little girl will get kidnapped off the street, and the Islamists will put the ISIS banner behind her. They'll get the balaclavas on. She'll be screaming for her mummy. And on Facebook Live or something, they're going to behead a little Christian child on video, blood spilling everywhere as she screams for her mummy. And they're going to, without any self-awareness, they're going to say, you fucking British, innit? This is how they're suffering in Gaza. This is how the Muslims are suffering in XYZ country, where they're mostly doing it to each other. But that isn't outside the realm of possibility.
Well, that one of my questions were, because I've seen the work that you do, and I can see that you're a visionary, and you look at the stats and the history and you piece it all together.
Yeah.
You know, you're a smart guy. So the question was, do you think we're heading for a civil war, and in what time frame?
If some atrocity happens tomorrow, it could kick off tomorrow, Liam. We've got the extreme hot weather, you know. That is a conditions for a civil war, the hot weather. But if some atrocity happens, like, for example, if some Islamists do another car ramming against another young British Army guy, a Lee Rigby, and they chop his head off, and then they're like, with the red hands, look at that, it will start tomorrow. But
Lee Rigby, if you don't know, is a British soldier that got beheaded by two Islamists who claimed that the reason why they murdered Lee Rigby was because of the violence committed by British soldiers on Muslims in the Middle East. That was their justification. So that is considered to be jihad. That is justified in Islam.
Darkest worry, like, I have friends near Blackburn, and there's like a weird thing in Lancashire. There's a Bolton, Burnley, Blackburn, and Bradford. All the Bs, the kind of 4 Bs of the apocalypse. Burnley, Bolton, Blackburn, and Bradford. They're so dominated by Islamists, unfortunately. And we saw in Blackburn, they voted in an independent Muslim MP called Adnan Hussein, who, again, and nobody knew anything about him, but they voted for him because he is Muslim. And this sectarian stuff happened. So the reason I'm bringing up Blackburn is I did a video saying this is how the civil war may start. And you know how every single day there's between, say, 200 and 800 migrants arriving on the boat. 99% of them are Muslims. What if, like, say, the British Muslim Foundation organizes a big celebration of Islam in Blackburn, and they organize buses to bring in 100,000 men, and they come into Blackburn for a big rally in the park, like a giant Glastonbury, but for Islam. If that 100,000 men in Blackburn, young military-aged men, you can't police that. Not even the army could police that. If they just decided to spread out in the city, just occupy police stations, government buildings. They'll take hostages as well. They'll take local councillors hostage. They'll take doctors hostage, little girls, little boys hostage in school. And then the Muslim MPs would say, oh no, they're being forced to do this by the right-wing fascists. There's all the right-wing bigotry. They don't feel welcome enough. So instead of sending in the SAS to rescue those hostages, let's have dialogue. Let's maybe give them, like, devolve some power to the Muslims in Blackburn. Okay, they've got the MPs, but let's maybe make it a caliphate just to get the hostages out. And that's how it's going to work. They don't have the ability to defeat us militarily or through power, but through subterfuge and manipulation and hostage taking. You see the trouble Israel's had with the 251 hostages that Hamas took. And unfortunately, because so many people in the West have asked for dialogue instead of, you know, in my opinion, after October 7th, every Western nation on earth should have just sent in their special forces into Gaza. Yes, it would take big casualties, but we can't, you know, the Delta Force, the SBS, the SAS, the French guys, everyone, they could have got most of those hostages out if we sent them in the first week or so. But because everyone then goes, no, peace, don't fight back. And that's how I think it's going to happen in Britain.
I have to say I disagree with Charlie here. Even if you would have brought your best special forces in the world, it would have taken a hell of a long time to bring back the hostages. Every single day we find new tunnels, an incredibly complex network of tunnels. In my opinion, what we should have done is we should have bombed the shit out of them in the first few weeks when we still had legitimacy from the world. With time, the legitimacy went down because the propaganda of Hamas is working like magic. We should not negotiate with Hamas. Ever. When has negotiating with terrorists worked for somebody? When? We negotiate with Hamas for Gilad Shalit, and the same terrorists that were released on that deal committed the October 7th attack. We should never negotiate with terrorists. Period.
The migrants will, under a ploy of a festival, get bussed into a Muslim majority city center. They'll just take over it. Roadblocks, burning tires, balaclavas, clubs, machetes. And you can't police 100,000 angry young men who are committed to Islam, who are saying, like, we are in a Dar al-Harb. In Islam, and it's not even a conspiracy theory, in Islam, there's two states. There's Dar al-Islam, which is the house of Islam, which is the house of peace. And anything that isn't the house of peace is the Dar al-Harb, the house of war, the house that is yet to be pacified and conquered, which is why the whole thing about everyone's naturally a Muslim and you revert back to Islam. Now, I don't want to come across as Mr. Randy Pan, the anti-Muslim hating man here. Many of my viewers are Muslims. Many of the people I meet that thank me for my work are also Muslims, but they would come in the camp of, like, go to mosque once a year. Muslims, they just want to work and educate their kids, and they kind of pay lip service to Islam. But the ones I'm worried about are the second and third generation young British, Pakistani, or Bangladeshi, or Muslim, or whichever, Nigerian, has a big Islamic problem at the moment. And it's the ones who, and here's how it's been, Liam. The last 25 years, this country has gone woke, telling white people that they're shit, that they're bad, that they're evil, that they have original sin. It's like we're like white people are Adam in the Bible. You're original sin, you dirty bastard white person. And no wonder Muslims, when they're born, say, even the same time of us, 1980s, 1990s, if you're a young Muslim and you've got this kind of like super masculine religion, Islam, big beards, conquering the world, hey, the Muslims did really well in the past. They had a big empire. But then you're like, oh, am I a Muslim? I was born in Rochdale. And then you're like, my teacher's a chubby they, them. She's telling me that white people are bad, that children should have their cocks and balls chopped off and become women. And like, you know, like gay marriage. I've got nothing against the gays, and I love my gays. You know, I stand behind my gays, not too closely because they you know, don't want my balls to touch their bum.
Yo, Charlie is so funny. Charlie, brother, you have a comedic timing. So funny, brother. Really, I think you're in the wrong field. Just kidding. You can do both. You're really funny, brother. All right, let's continue.
But there's effeminate, gay, West society, and then there's glorious, big beard, dominating, masculine. Kids would never get annied. So you're young Abdul in Rochdale, and you're like, yeah, you'd go towards the warrior culture. There's my identity. I'm a Muslim. And that's fair enough. I don't blame them. But when you asked me, do I think we're going to civil war in this country? I said 100%. The only way we will prevent civil war is if Great Britain becomes a hyper proud of the British Empire, militaristic. We've already doubled our GDP. The only good thing Keir Starmer's done is doubled the spending to NATO from 2.5% to 5% GDP. And so we're growing our balls back slightly, but we need to teach children, including young British Muslim kids, that the British Empire was the fucking Spartans of the world. Like, we conquered the whole planet. Sun never sets on the British Empire because from Canada all the way to New Zealand, we fucking conquered all of it. Like, when you look at the map of places that Britain has conquered, it's Union Jacks everywhere. Union flags all over the planet. And to a young man looking for an identity, he can then go, oh, you know what? Yeah, I've got my Muslim heritage, but I'm born in Britain. They accept me. I can fight for Britain. I can fight for these values, and we can go and conquer the world.
Guys, I'm going to pause the video right here, and I'm going to include the link to the full video in the link in the description below so you can watch the full thing. And I have to say, Charlie, I thought you have a talent for vlogging. I didn't think you had a talent for podcasting. You're incredible, brother. The way you speak, the way you know your history, very well done. And I agree with you. I think the British people need to show force, they need to show power, and they need to show Islam who is the boss in the region. Don't act weak. Don't show weakness, because then the future of the UK is doomed. Thank you for watching this video. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you'd like to support me financially, you can do that using Buy Me Coffee or Patreon down in the links in the description. Also, you can now become a YouTube member and enjoy specific YouTube perks. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.